Almost all of us travelers travel by plane. We do this for longer distances, but also for shorter distances. So I am wondering, can we travel more sustainably and still keep it on a low budget? I want to introduce William to you. He found a solution to this problem, traveling by bike.
It's very unlikely you will ever meet anybody who tells you a story of regretting to go on a bike trip. And why is that?
When William was younger, he biked all the way from England to India, and even today he keeps traveling by bike. His passion for cycling started very early as an escape for his family situation. But I want to let him tell his own story.
My parents were alcoholic, and the house that I grew up in was kind of crazy for that reason. And from an early age, I learned that being on a bicycle and cycling away from this crazy place led me to feel settled, safe, calm, in charge of things myself. And so from early on, I started to use cycling. I'd go away for the entire day as a way to find a more peaceful environment for myself.
I'm glad for him that cycling helped him get out of the situation. And at the age of 22, he cycled 13,700 kilometers, all the way, again, from England to India. But which road did he follow?
In those days, India was possible to travel to from Europe, and many people did. So I did the journey. It took me almost a year, 360 days, and I cycled through Europe, Italy, Yugoslavia, into Greece, into Turkey. Then it was getting very cold, and I'd met a friend from the Netherlands, Rudy. So Rudy and I agreed we were going to travel to Israel to go to a kibbutz for the winter. So then we went south through Syria, Jordan, into Israel. Rudy had to leave from Israel because his father was very unwell. And then I went back up through Syria, Jordan, into Turkey again, Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and India.
Sounds like a crazy adventure. I wonder which challenges he faced on the road and how he found solutions for those.
Probably the number one difficulty for me was culture shock. And there's two sides to this: the personal space issue and how we dressed. In Turkey and other countries, people stood too close. And in England, we're used to standing much further apart. They would not respect one's personal space. They would touch my things, touch my bicycle. One time in Pakistan, I came back to the place where I was staying to find that my host family had opened my bicycle bags and were reading my personal letters. The way that I dealt with that was to ask questions and to be curious and to learn about the local culture. The second side of this was how we dressed. We came to understand that wearing short trousers with bare legs or short sleeve shirts with bare arms was really, really offensive, and people were throwing stones. And it wasn't until a local person explained that this was very offensive to the Islamic sensibilities. So what we did about it was we started to wear long trousers and long sleeve shirts, even though that was a little uncomfortable in the really hot weather. Another danger, which is more kind of obvious, was dogs. Particularly in the Middle East and beyond, where wild dogs come in big packs. The best thing to do is, if you can, go faster and get away from them, you do, but many times you can't. So then the best thing to do is to stop, because a dog is a lot less interested in a bike or in a person that is not moving than one that is moving. There's something about the moving bike and the gears and everything, it just makes a dog crazy. So you stop. In France, I picked up some stones and threw stones at the dog. You didn't have to hit them, just throw them nearby, and the dogs would run away. And interestingly, they would yelp as if they'd been hit, even though the stone didn't hit them. And then later on, I just accidentally discovered that if I didn't have any stones, if I just moved my hand like I was going to throw a stone, like that, but there was no stone, the dog would yelp and run away as if there had really been a stone. So it's almost like dogs understand that people throw stones at them, and when they do, they should move away.
Okay, so he experienced some crazy moments on the road to India. But since now he's older, I asked him another question. Do you think you need to be young and in a perfect condition to go bikepacking?
Well, I hope not, because I'm still doing it. But no, there's no age. A lot of people, even if they've got a bit of health problems or they're overweight or whatever, the bicycle is a great way to become strong and fit. Now, because we can and because we prefer, we'll stay in a hotel. One thing I like to do, which not everybody does, because I loved my earlier journeys where I was wild camping and I never knew where I stayed every night, I get a little bit of a flavor of that. So for me, even though that's credit card touring, what I do is I don't plan ahead where I'm going to stay. I don't book hotels. I don't do Airbnbs. I have my phone, and at 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I start to look on my phone. You know, sometimes people say, oh, you shouldn't be calling so late. You need to call 2 weeks in advance. Fine. But it always works out. I always find somewhere to stay, and sometimes you have to cycle a little further or cycle off the way you wanted to go. One time in France, there was bed bugs in the bed and rats running through the roof at night, and it was, you know, but for me, that's part of the adventure.
So William cycled a lot. I'm curious to hear which life lessons he learned from this.
So biking has changed my life because it's made me aware that I can do more things than I thought was possible. I can go further. I can climb more mountains. It's also created a real love of nature and being outside for me. And it's led me to be more interested in sustainability and protecting the wonderful world that I experienced as I cycled. It changes your view on other people. It changes your view on yourself. And what I learned in my life was, even though I left the workforce for a couple of years, the experiences, what I learned, the attitudes I developed, helped me be successful in my career. And I would say, you know, I mean, if you're going to be purely economic, I would say that the money I earned from the attitudes and skills I got from being on my bike more than paid for the loss of income while I was there.
Okay, so that sounds like such a trip can only improve one's current situation. But what else do I need to know before getting on my bike?
These are my 3 laws of long-distance bicycling. Right? The first is that most people you come across are going to be good and kind to you, particularly out in the countryside. When people see you on a bicycle, they know that you're alone. They know that you're powerless. They know that, you know, a car can hit you and kill you, and they know that it takes real work to go distances. So I think that's one of the reasons that people look after people on bicycles. The second is that there are things that you can do, and when you're on the bicycle, you have to do them, and you learn that you can keep going and that you've got more inside you than you might think. The third idea is that the bicycle really teaches you to stay in the present moment. When you're cycling up a long mountain climb, there's no room for anything else other than focusing on the road, focusing on your breathing. There's a lot of talk about meditation and staying in the present moment these days. But on the bicycle, it's teaching you to do that very naturally and organically.
Amazing. And if you need an extra push to get on your bike, William has a challenge for you.
Get on your bicycle, try and do it. Do a short trip, do a long trip. Do whatever you can do and just see how it makes you feel. Everybody as a child dreams about flying. But on a bicycle, when you're going downhill on a bicycle, your brain and your eyes are like a bird. You're flying through the air. And it's the most fantastic feeling. And so just do it. Try it.
Okay, I'm on my bike already. William also wrote a book about his trip to India, and I loved reading it. But why should you read it too?
If you're interested in bicycle touring and you're interested in traveling, you should read the book because it'll give you a very clear idea about what it's like to cycle long distance. It'll also give you some very practical tips. and I think it will inspire you to go and cycle. A lot of people have said to me during these times of COVID, it allows me to travel even though I can't leave the house. So even if you can't travel, you can travel with me by reading the book.
So if you want to read this book on paperback or even digitally, then you can find the links in the description box. So William's story proves that we don't need to get on an airplane for traveling long distances. We can all jump on our bike to explore new places and meet locals. Sustainable travel on a low budget. By the way, if you have any questions to me or to William, just leave them down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this kind of content, you can always subscribe to my channel for more videos which are coming soon. And you can always like this video as well if you did like it, obviously. And anyway, I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.